Yeah. So on the last video, we have discussed about the CSS inheritance. We have discussed CSS inheritance, and we were talking about inherit, initial, and what? Unset. So in the parent, if you see, we have set the background color, and in a child, we are unsetting it. There are two types of the properties: inheritable properties and non-inheritable properties, naturally inheritable properties and non-inheritable properties. This is the naturally inheritable property, color. Color is naturally inheritable property, right? But the background color is not naturally inheritable property. So behavior of those properties which are not naturally inheriting is different. So when you say unset, it should get the default color. You getting my point? It should get what? Yeah. So let's open it. Let me open this. I think index 3 and CSS3. Index 3 and CSS3. Yeah. So technically, expectation is that this child should not get the red color, right? This is what the expectation is. Yes or no? Right. Because the parent is setting the red color, and child over here, you are unsetting the red color, which means that yes, I am recording the session. Yeah. So here we are unsetting the color, which means that it should not have any color over here. This is what your interpretation is, correct? Right. Yeah. Now, if you go to the official documentation of the background color, you will surprisingly get one thing over here. So what is the default color? Can you see? Or initial value is a transparent. So in the child, it is unsetting, but because the color is transparent, we are getting illusion that it is not resetting it. It is happening actually. Because we have a parent color as a red. This is a transparent. So to understand this thing, let's remove this. Let's remove this from here. Let's remove this from here, and let's have the another property, outline. And here I can say outline inherit, means whatever parent is having, that we will inherit. Refresh it. Can you see there is a little outline? Let me remove this border. Outline inherit. To the child you didn't give any outline, but here you have given the outline. Remember that. Outline 2px solid red. To the parent you have given, and that's why the outline came over here to the parent. And in the child section, what you did, dot child, outline inherit. So whatever outline would be there for the parent, same outline will come to the child, right? Hello? Right. Now instead of inherit, if you use unset, you will see that outline is getting removed, which means that these things are working as expected, but we were having illusion because background color is having default color as transparent. Got it. Yep, completely got it. So it was like working previously as well, but yes, somehow you missed it. Yeah. It was working previously as well. Okay, now let's document it. Explain what unset, initial, and inherit. So here So here, when you talk about the unset, so what is this, H2 or H3? Okay, this is H3. Non-inheritable properties, and here we can say inherit keyword, then unset H3, we can say unset keyword, what does the unset keyword does? The unset keyword, here you can say the unset keyword is the CSS value that acts as a shorthand for inherit in the case of the inherited properties, and the shorthand for the initial in a case of the non-inherited properties, right? It allows this is the interview type question, mark my words. If you are appearing for the experienced web developer interview, you will get this question, unset keyword. That's why I'm emphasizing this much on these things. It allows a property to inherit a value from the parent if property is inherited. If property is not inherited, it sets to its initial value, right? Inherit keyword we already have written. Then initial keyword, initial value, whatever in the documentation they have given, H3 initial keyword. Now when you say initial keyword, the initial keyword sets the property as per the specification. The initial keyword sets a property to its default value defined by the CSS specification. Means here, can you see here, there is something called as initial. So it will set to that part. It is equivalent to explicitly setting the property to the default value, right? Unset, inherit, and the initial. These three keywords are important. Actually, these are the values, not keywords, or you can say keywords, no problem. These are the values to your any attribute. So how do you assign? If you see over here, outline unset, outline inherit, outline initial. That's about the CSS3 inheritance. So we have discussed this in the last session, right? Now specificity. Now what? Specificity. What do you mean by specificity? Specificity. Okay. You see my screen, right?
Right.
Specificity. So when you talk about the specificity, you are talking about one algorithm. So I will write a code and please tell me the answer. I will write one code, okay, and please tell me the answer. So here we can say, let's push this much code. CSS3 inheritance demo and day 18. Now here we can say index.html, new app.css, html5, specificity 01, link rel css, app.css. Okay, so here I have a paragraph. And here I can say hello world, class we can say call color or color it dot color it.
Just a question, like as you mentioned, color there. We should not be using like the same keyword which are like blue,
Correct.
right?
Yes,
Blue. Okay.
you should avoid it. CSS will not complain you, but you should avoid it.
Okay.
Okay, and then here I will have p and the color yellow. So tell me which color would be getting applied.
Right.
Red.
Right. Yeah.
Why red?
Due to a sequence,
Okay.
because like one is the three we do have, right? Element, class, and ID. So ID is like the most what you can say highest priority, second class, and third element. So we do have element and class. So class is like inside that one. So I believe class will get added.
Okay.
And say will be displayed.
Okay. Let us see. Day 18. Index.html is red. Right. If you remember, we have seen the sequence at the time of. Okay. Let's do one more thing. ID is equals to say title TTL. Now hash TTL, color blue. Now which color?
Blue.
Okay, see, it's blue. Now if I write, we have seen class ID, style, color brown. Now
It'll go with the style inline.
in inline style,
Yeah.
refresh it, see it's a brown. Now, so if I write this in the beginning, then what will happen?
Uh, I believe still will go with the style.
Okay, correct. Now if I remove this style from here, now
Color should be applied because like due to a sequence.
color should be what?
I believe color should be okay. So it will no. So although in CSS it's up and down, but in like what you can say HTML, the sequence will be like color and ID. So I believe it should be blue only.
Okay, the blue. Now if I
Actually, the sequence is getting defined on the HTML side, not on the CSS side, right?
now if I write this ID here, then
It should be
same.
yeah. Okay.
Now if I write this here, then
Uh,
Okay, see,
Still blue.
it would be blue only.
Okay, so ID will take over it.
Yeah, the way you are thinking, in a same way algorithm also thinks, and that algorithm is called as specificity. Specificity is not any fancy thing. If you go here now, the specificity, first go to the documentation. A specificity in the CSS determines which styles are applied to an element when multiple conflicting styles are defined. Specificity in the CSS determines which styles are applied to an element when multiple conflicting styles are defined. It is a way to resolve the conflict and decide which rule should take the precedence. Specificity is calculated based on the combination of the selectors used to target an element. So we apply the styles in these many ways. Inline styles. Styles are defined in HTML using the style attribute, have the highest specificity, and they are usually applied to element. Then ID selectors. The selectors targeting the elements by their ID attribute have higher specificity than other selectors. For example, hash my element is a higher specificity than my class or the element. Then the class selector and the attribute things. Then element selectors. Now we have one thing over here. So here we can say hash nav. Can you see one ID is there? One ID is there. If you see over here, your specificity is something like this. Your specificity is something like this. So inline styles, IDs, classes, pseudo classes, attribute selectors, right? And fourth specificity is elements and the pseudo elements, right? Elements and what? Pseudo elements. So here if you have ID, if you want to select the element like this, hash nav arrow, you can say dot dv. Can you see specificity is 110? Specificity is what? 110. One is this hash nav ID. See here, ID, then classes, attributes, pseudo classes, IDs, classes, attributes, pseudo classes, and then elements and the pseudo elements. Elements and what? Pseudo elements. If you just do a name of the tag, can you see specificity is 001? Can you see that? So here if you are selecting element something like this, you will hash primary nav and something like this. Hello? Am I audible?
Yes.
Am I audible? So specificity, what do you mean by specificity? Specificity in a CSS determines which styles are applied to an element when multiple conflicting styles are defined. When multiple conflicting styles are defined. Okay. So first priority will be to the inline styles, then ID selectors, classes, attribute selectors, classes, classes attribute selectors, then pseudo classes, classes attribute selectors, attribute and pseudo selectors, and element selectors, and pseudo elements. What are the pseudo selectors or pseudo classes? What are the pseudo classes? Can you tell me? What do you mean by pseudo class?
Before, after.
Okay. A class which starts from single colon.
Single colon, element, double colon.
Is it true or what?
Yes.
Okay. If you see here, the CSS3 selector pseudo classes starts with single, but before and after doesn't come over here.
Right.
Before and after falls under the pseudo elements, which works on the part of the element. So when someone asks you the question, what do you mean by pseudo elements? Starts with the double colon, which works on the part of the element. And pseudo classes, these are the classes. The class you cannot write, right? If you don't know the class, you can logically put the things. That is nothing but what the pseudo classes are. Something is getting defined logically. So specificity calculator, a visual way to understand the specificity. Change the selectors or paste in your own. So if you see the specificity, ID 1, classes 1, and elements, what you can say, 2. Specificity is the algorithm by which browser understands. Specificity is the thing by which browser understands which style to apply in case of confusing styles. Right? If you can see, when two rules have the same specificity, the rule declared in the last CSS takes the precedence, means the most recent one. Important rule, styles declared with, we will see, not important flag have the highest specificity and will override any conflicting style. So here you have a simple thing, a color, hash title, and the P. So if you want to calculate the specificity, right, if you want to calculate the specificity, just a minute. Just a minute. I want to put the charger. Yeah. So when you talk about the specificity, which style amongst this would be getting selected? This is a pretty straight. First, inline style will have a precedence. Do we have inline style? No. Then ID would be having the highest precedence. After that, after that class would be having the precedence. So if I change the sequence, it would be like this. So first priority would be given to the inline style, whatever styles you apply over here. Then it is given to the ID. Then it is given to the class. Then it is given to what? Class. And at the last, there is the elements or the pseudo elements. Right? Hello?
Yes.
Is this clear or not?
Yes.
So whenever you will have whenever you will have the confusion which style would be getting assigned, you need to either use these calculators, something like this, just add your selector over here, right, and check what's the specificity. And second, you can write over here and check what's the specificity. So if you see here, so now hover something like this 1013112. So you can write both the selectors over here and check who has a highest specificity. That would be getting selected. Okay, right? Hello?
Mhm.
Now there is a one bypass. This is the interview type question. Now tell me what would be the color.
Yeah, we'll go with important.
Yellow. So you might have seen this thing in your code base, right? Now if you go over here and refresh it, it's yellow. So it overrides, this is the exception for all the specificities, and that's why it should be used with the gentle care. You are breaking the principle. You are breaking the principle of the specificity over here by adding this line exclamation mark important. Exclamation mark important. You are breaching the algorithm. But you write it anywhere, here, anywhere, that will be highest precedence. That will have what? Highest precedence. You got it? Specificity.
Right. One question, like here.
Yes.
Okay, as we have important, so do we have other like similar kind of tags? First, second, like when to use this one, or like when should we avoid it?
So at important, sorry, exclamation important, you can, so generally what, when this is getting used, you have a code base of 5 years back, and the developers who have worked on it are not currently available, and you need to create your own style and apply it to the element, but you don't know which class are used and what is happening in the existing code base. At that time you can use one use case I have told, this part, right? But generally this should be avoided. It shouldn't be used. What you can say, in general, correct?
Okay. Do we have any other keywords as well similar to important? No.
No, with in the regards of the CSS specificity, important is the only thing, and time to time I will tell you. So this is about what you can say, specificity. correct? Now,
Yes.
now let's move ahead. Let me push this much code. CSS3 specificity. Now, what's the next topic? Specificity. Okay, positions: static, relative, absolute, fixed, and sticky. So here app 01.css, and here index 01.css, app 01.css, sorry, index.html, HTML5, and CSS3 positions. Okay, so let me write it. Static position, and what? Static positions. You'll get to know, let me write the code. Immediately you will get to know what I'm trying to do over here. Just a minute. Static position. So here let's have a div. I will create a class stk static div, and let's have a static, and here we can say this is div, or this is a static div element. Then we can have a h1, and I can say static position paragraph, we can say lorem and ipsum. Okay, and here we can say link rel css /app01.css. Now, what is the static position? This is the default position value. Elements are positions. Elements are positioned according to. Elements are positioned according to the normal document flow. This is the default one. So here I can say stk.stk, and I need to apply this specific to this div. If stk is to the div, I can say div.stk, and here you can say position static border 1px solid red, 1px solid red, and index 01. See, this is the default position. When you say position is static, the element with the position static is position in is not positioned in any special way. It is always positioned according to the normal document flow. Normal document flow. That's what the position static is. Position what? static. This is the default one. If you go to the MDN reference, official documentation, and if you search for the position, right, go to the default value position. Can you see initial value is what? Static. Initial value is what? Static. Now let's see another value. So here index02.html and app 02.css. HTML5, and now we will see a relative position. Remember that we have entered. So if you see this chapter is falling under the layout related section. So these are the important things I have told you. So layouts, right? Now you will get to know what do you mean by the relative position now. So when you say relative position, let's have same thing as H1. Everything would be same as H1. Content I will keep same. A relative position, and here instead of say RLT, this is the relative div element. Now what do you mean by relative? You will get to know this thing. RLT dot RLT and position, first thing, is a relative. Okay, position what? Relative. So let's make this as box, or let's not make this as a box. Position relative. Background we have given background color aquamarine, and start from the left 30 px, from the top 40 px. Okay, can you see? You are specifically telling okay, CSS have not been imported. Link rel CSS app02.css. Refresh it. Can you see? Top 40 pixel and left 30 pixel. Hello? Top 40 pixel. Am I audible? Top
Yes.
40 pixel, left 30 pixel. A relative position. Now relative to someone. That's why its name is as relative. Allows you to adjust the element's position relative to its normal position in document flow. Other elements will still occupy the original space. Allows you to adjust elements relative position, element's position relative to its normal position in the document flow. Other elements will still occupy the original space. And here if you see the output, so this element starts naturally somewhere here, right? Hello? Just below the lorem ipsum. It starts just below the lorem ipsum. It's
So starting point will be at the same time, same
same.
position, but
Yeah,
as we are placing somewhere, so it
correct.
will be
So if you it is starting from here, if it is starting from here, 40 pixel from the top here, 40 pixel from the top would be left, and 30 pixel from the left would be passed.
one question here that we have positioned in that way, right? So top and like the left one, right?
Correct.
But and we have mentioned that position as relative.
Correct.
Although we are mentioning position as relative and
Mhm.
specifying detail, what if we'll remove or is it possible to comment that okay relative thing and then test it?
Yeah,
How
see
it
here.
will behave in that case?
See,
Yeah. Okay.
it will not
So
work.
how why that? Because I mean, say although we are providing like top and what you can say
Yeah,
parameter,
but
why it's
but
moving?
but by default the position is static, natural ordering.
Okay, okay,
You
okay,
don't define the position, it would be by default what? Static, natural ordering. So here you can define top, left, right, bottom. Top, left, right, and what? Bottom. So these many things you can apply over here. Top, left, right, bottom. Just I have given example with the top and left. Top 40 pixels, right, from the left it would be 30 pixels. This is the relative position. If element is getting started from here, you will leave 40 pixels from the top and you will leave 30 pixels from the left. Wherever element is positioned, that would be the relative positioning. What's the relative positioning? Relative to its normal position. Remember that, relative to its what? Normal positions. Now another thing, let's create new HTML, new index 03 .html and new app 03.html. Index 03.html. Now what is the absolute positioning? What do you mean by absolute positioning? Or before absolute, let's talk about fixed positioning. So just a minute, we need same thing as this. app03.css. app03.css absolute positioning. ABS, I can write this is absolute development, absolute development. So when you talk about the absolute, what do you mean by absolute? So if you see and read the doc, takes the element out of the normal document flow and position it relative to its nearest position ancestor or containing block, useful for creating the overlays kind of thing. Overlays means one element is positioned above another element, takes the element out of natural ordering, right? So here absolute positioning paragraph, and here I will make one change. div, and let's add this into this div, and outer layout would be RLT, relative, and inner layout would be absolute, ABS, right? So we can say dot RLT position relative, position what, a relative, width we can apply 300 pixel, height 200 pixel, border 2px solid red. Then ABS dot ABS absolute, position absolute, and top here we can say it would be same as, it would be similar to the relative, but it does some magic. From top 80 pixels, right 0, width we can say 200 pixel, height 100 pixel, and apply the border 2px or 3px solid red. Let's go here. Let me close all these things. Zero 3. Now if you look at the screen, what is absolute positioning? Whenever you talk about the absolute positioning, takes the element out of the natural document flow and position it relative to its nearest position ancestor or the containing block. This is important, or the nearest position ancestor or the containing block. Kind of overlay we have created over here, background color, and we can say E hash EEE. And if you go here, kind of a box on the top of this box we have created. That is the absolute positioning. This is what? Absolute positioning. It is dependent on the outer layout. Remember that. If your outer layout is there and inside that there is one layout, so how to position this in outside position, that's the absolute positioning is. So here takes the element out of the natural document flow. Now if you remove these two classes, just remove it and remove it, and you go here and refresh it, see how it would be. It would be one below other, right?
So it's like
One
when we
more
add class.
one more thing I will write, just
Yeah.
Control Z, and here we can say this is outer div content. This is outer div content, and refresh it. See, technically it should start from here. This div should start from what? Just below this. So if I remove just class ABS from here, position, can you see it should start from here. But what it is happening, it is taking this guy over here, but inside this element, it is not impacting on this, right? It is not impacting on the other elements. Whatever happening is happening inside this div. Am I audible?
Yes. Yep. Got it.
Absolute position. Now, next positioning, I will create, sorry, new HTML, index04.html, new file, app04.css. HTML5 and fixed position. Rest is same. I will get all these things. Here we can say fixed position, fxd fixed. Now here we can say position fixed. Now from the top 0, left 0, width 300 pixel, and border 2px solid red. Now index 04, link the CSS fixed position, link rel CSS app04.css, and if can you see other portion is moving, or top 50%. Can you see rest of the code is moving, but this is fixed. And here also, if you can make 50% center of the screen, if you see this is not moving, this is a fixed, other rest of the things are moving, but certain thing is fixed. It is like this. If you can see, can you see these three icons, WhatsApp, call, and this? These are the fixed positioning. Can you see that?
Yep. Yep.
This is the fixed positioning, and same thing is over here, fixed positioning. Correct? Position what? Fixed. Now last part of the positioning is sticky. Is what? Sticky. So let us see.
There are like couple of them, right? Like this one, like flex or display. What are those like something? This one.
Display?
Yeah, display or flex.
Yeah,
Something
we'll
like
see that.
display.
Yeah, we'll see that. That is altogether different topic.
Oh,
This is not related to this. We would be covering that into the layouts, flexbox,
okay.
grid, and other thing. Display property. Can you see that?
Okay.
Not here. So here just we are understanding positionings, important positionings. So here we can say index 05.html and app.cs, app 05.css. So here we can say HTML5 and sticky position. So here we can say one paragraph, see magic after scrolling, scrolling, try to scroll fully. Okay, then we would be having a div and sticky. Then div we would be having and lorem ipsum here p. Some dummy content I'm trying to add. app05 this and linkrel css app05.css. Okay, now what we need to do, a sticky sticky and position we can say sticky top 0 and let's have some padding 8 pixel, background color cadet blue and foreground color simply color black, border 2px solid black, 2px solid black, position sticky, and here you can say class stky, class what, stky, right, and you go here 05. Now if you see I'm scrolling but nothing is happening. I think content is little bit lesser, so we can say class cnt and dot cnt content. Let's give a padding bottom 3000 pixels, padding bottom 3000 pixels, refresh it. Can you see? And can you see when you scroll it goes to the top and sticks over there and content runs behind that. When you scroll, margin has been added, padding has been added to the bottom. It sticks over there, sticks to the top. Sticky. What is sticky? Behaves like a relative within the container until user scrolls. Remember that. It behaves like a relative, right? But until user scrolls to the certain threshold, then behaves like fixed. If you don't scroll, it is behaving like a relative. If you scroll, it will touch to one threshold and after that this is fixed. Top 0 we have given, right? So here you can give left 40%, left 50%. Oh, okay. Okay, because of this sticky, okay, we'll see that. But I got to know what's happening. But if you see here, let's consider first sticky. What do you mean by sticky? So this is the sticky. So width is full. See, it's sticky. Getting my point? Hello?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Sticky. So let me push all these things. CSS3 positions. Positions. I have uploaded all these things to the Git. Okay.
Yeah.
So please go through it today and ask me questions tomorrow. Okay.
Yep, yeah, got it.
Yeah. So one quick update I would like to give you. I think on the Wednesday I might not be available. On the Wednesday.
Okay. Okay.
I will confirm you guys on the WhatsApp. If that thing confirms, I will confirm you on the WhatsApp. Okay.
Sure, no worries. Yeah. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you. Please practice
Yes.
and ask me the questions.
Yep, yeah, thanks.
Thank you.